Hello, I'm Tom Bleach, and today we are at Money 2020 Europe 2025 in Amsterdam, and we've got a fantastic guest joining us today. Jeff, thank you so much for joining us. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Sure, thanks for having me, Tom. My name is Jeff Parker. I'm the CEO of Paymentology.
Fantastic. So I guess the best way to kick it off is just by, for those maybe that somehow haven't heard of Paymentology, just give us a breakdown. What is Paymentology? What's it all about?
Sure, Paymentology is a modern issuer processor. We provide debit, prepaid, credit card processing for fintechs and digital banks. And we like to think of ourselves as the most global of those modern issuer processors around.
Fantastic. So correct me if I'm wrong, but you joined Paymentology in December 2023?
That's correct, yes.
So what's been standing out to you since you joined the role? You know, what's been going on? What's your main takeaway since you joined?
Look, it's been an amazing 18 months for me. I joined, as you say, December 2023. I joined at a time when the business had kind of bought three businesses to create what is called Paymentology today, and we're very much at the start of that journey. So my focus has been very much on bringing those businesses together, both from an organization perspective, from a culture perspective, redefining what the strategy is, and really building a team that gets us ready for the next stage of growth, which I think is a massive opportunity for us. So it's been pretty busy, but it's been good.
Yeah, fantastic. So, since you joined the role, what are the standout sort of client use cases or trends that you've seen in your key markets?
But we're very fortunate. We are very global. We've got clients in over 50 countries, and those countries, are in all regions: LATAM, Europe, Africa, Asia. So we cover a huge set of use cases. We typically focus on fintechs and digital banks. So we've got some of the world's fastest growing digital banks. We've got Time Bank in South Africa, which is the first black-owned unicorn bank in South Africa, which is pretty exciting. In the Philippines, we have their sister company called GoTime, which was super innovative. They kind of bought the physical branch and the digital cards together, and they have like standalone kiosks that you can go and onboard, and you can get a physical card immediately. We have Makuru in South Africa, which is a big international money transfer business. And then in the Western world, more traditional, I would say, digital banks, wallets or cards on the back of wallets, expense management type businesses. So yeah, huge use case, but fundamentally all using the same modern API first technology that we provide.
That's amazing. And I guess you're the person to ask, how do you see card programs evolving? Where are they headed? And what's driving the change, do you think?
Look, I think even the term card program is almost what's evolving. Yeah, I think as we think about the way that people used to think about cards as a physical card is significantly changing. We've got virtual cards. We've got this massive adoption of tokens. MasterCard have announced that they're getting rid of the 16-digit card number. And so I think for me, we're going to be referring to this as tokens and tokenized payments going forward. What does that mean? That means that customers have really enhanced and demand-enhanced digital experiences in the mobile phone. And I think that's where everything is measured today. How do we deliver a seamless, frictionless user experiences to customers by the card? And I think that's the big change. And then I think, we've heard of it a lot before, less so this year around Money 2020, but I think embedded finance is still a huge opportunity. And how do we embed the payment into third parties, into other brands? Again, really enhancing the customer experience. But I think that's the kind of the trends we're seeing.
Fantastic. And with that in mind, recognizing these trends, how these things are evolving, what are some key developments or products that have been in development recently for Paymentology?
So there's the first thing is around that digitalization and tokenization. We purchased a business called Mere Wallet a couple of years ago, and they're, at least in my view, the world's leading tokenization business. So whether that's instant issuing of virtual cards, whether that's provisioning into Apple Pay or Google Pay, or increasingly dynamic controls at a personalized level. So if I want to issue a card to my daughter, I can give her a card today. I can allocate that she can only spend $20. She can only spend it at these merchant category codes, and it will run out in 24 hours. Those types of tailorized spends are super important. And then secondly, I think is credit. So most of the innovation that's happened to date in the modern issuing space is around debit and prepaid. we see a huge opportunity around credit, and we've just launched a brand new credit ledger built from the ground up, which surprisingly is based on a billing cycle, whether that's revolving credit or BNPL. And most of the existing credit ledgers are really customized versions of debit ledgers. And so there's lots of things that generally go wrong or unreliable. They calculate interest incorrectly. So those two things together, I think, are where we see massive opportunities.
Amazing. And I'm hoping you'll be willing to divulge, but can you give any sort of advice for any fintechs or banks that are launching a new card program? What would your key advice be?
Look, I think the obvious things are, look at the technology, how agile, how reliable is it? Do they own that technology? Because if they own it, that gives you the ability to shape the roadmap going forward. If you happen to go to a third party, that can mean that in the future you're going to be further down the pecking list. Look at the markets that it serves and how does that match to your strategy. If you have an aspiration to be a multi-market business, you need to make sure that your partners can service that as well. I think the user experience, really understanding whether they can deliver on the user experience that you want. I think they're the obvious ones. I think the last, and probably maybe even the most important, but often and forgotten one is the chemistry and the relationship with the people, the partnership. This is ultimately, you said it's a partnership, yeah. Our relationships are multi-year. They're 3, 5, 10-year relationships, and so actually that relationship one-to-one is important. And ultimately, we are humans. We sell to humans. We relate to each other as humans, and so definitely find out whether you think there's a chemistry and a match on a personal level.
Yeah, definitely. That's really important advice, and definitely advice that I'm sure many fintechs can take heed of and recognize. Well, I know you've got a very busy day today, so I'll let you go there. I hope you enjoy the rest of the event and have a good time.
Thank you very much, and have a great event yourself.